hope this is being videotaped. That part is left out because both my brothers are Army Rangers and I'm kind of scared of them a little bit, so I don't want that. You know, the legacy of my family continues with my young nephew, who is a volunteer firefighter in my hometown, my state, Little, Rhode Island. And as I mentioned, behind every leader is a strong support system. I'm really happy today to have some of my family members here with me today. My mom, my sister Janet, extended members of my family, Bea and Deb, and of course my boss, Warren Lichtenstein. And not only is Warren a great supporter of the Federal Law Enforcement Foundation, but also is the executive chairman of Aerojet Rocketdyne. And selfishly, what I like most about my boss is that he gave me the unbelievable opportunity to run the coolest rocket company in the free world. Just give me that.
Yeah.
About the mission of the Federal Law Enforcement Foundation, I can't help but think about September 11th, 2001, and I think we all remember where we were that day. I was in Indianapolis, Indiana, and as I watched the events of that day unfold on the TV, I was most taken back by news commentator after news commentator and how they talked about the first responders running into burning buildings and running up flights of stairs to save people. And although we will never be able to repay those people that paid the ultimate sacrifice, we can honor and cherish their memory by taking care of their families and their loved ones. And I find it very admirable that the Federal Law Enforcement Foundation somewhat modified their original mission to also support and take care of those families of the first responders of 9/11 that died or were injured that day. So as I look in this audience today of all the law enforcement and the first responders, I am truly honored to stand in front of you. I'm equally as honored to run Aerojet Rocketdyne, a company that is entrusted with providing the propulsion that is so critical to our nation. In fact, the Department of Defense often refers to Aerojet Rocketdyne as a critical national asset. We provide the propulsion for both defense and space. On the defense side, our propulsion systems are used for the U.S. military in the air, on the ground, and on the sea. Some of the things that our products help do, they're very important missions. We help power our nation's intercontinental ballistic missiles. We launch those satellites into deep space for national security. And we also help intercept the enemy's missiles in deep space. And I'm very proud that we participated in the highly publicized Missile Defense Agency test that you might have seen on the news in June. It was the first time ever that the United States intercepted an intercontinental ballistic missile target. And Aerojet Rocketdyne was a part of that successful test. We designed and produced the divert attitude control, which is actually what shoots down and kills the exo-atmospheric turbulence. I'll tell you that day the pucker factor was up and we didn't get to practice that test, and thank goodness it was a very successful test. The important work that we're doing right now on our defense side is we're developing the solid propulsion systems for the replacement of the Minuteman, which will be the ground-based strategic deterrent system, which will make our U.S. military even stronger. On the space piece of our business, we've been working with NASA for decades. We were with them with the big race to the moon. We produced the mighty RS-25 engines that were on the space shuttle. And today we're redesigning those engines for NASA's Space Launch System and Lockheed Martin's Orion spacecraft that will once again bring humans into deep space, like places like the moon and Mars. And we're supposed to get to Mars in the 2030s, which will be unbelievable to see the first man or woman step foot on Mars. The other thing that we do in our space business that's very applicable to what you all do for a living is we help to launch those satellites into deep space. Those satellites that provide very important imaging for our national reconnaissance as well as our global positioning information. We provide the observance for crime prevention and national security. And we also provide the very important ground communications for our federal and local enforcement agencies around the world. And as David mentioned, the biggest thing that we're working on right now is developing our AR-1, Aerojet Rocketdyne 1 engine, which is our call to action that the Congress and administration made to end our reliance on the Russians and their engines for national security missions by 2019. So the AR-1 engine is an all-American made engine. It will be the first engine made all-American to replace a Russian engine by 2019, and we're very, very proud of that. So in closing, I would like to accept this award on behalf of the 5,000 employees at Aerojet Rocketdyne. You know, our employees are very proud of what they do for the United States of America, and just as we have men and women serving our nation in the military, as first responders and in law enforcement, our employees see what they do every day as very important to our country and to our safety. In fact, one of my recent employees that I just hired, my Chief of Staff, Stephen Brightman, came to me from the Army. He actually ran a Patriot battery company, and we make the propulsion for the Patriot. He's a West Point grad. And so he sees this as an extension of his service to the military, just as I see being able to run Aerojet Rocketdyne as an extension of the service that I did as an Army aviator. When I met Stephen, I couldn't help but be excited about who his family is and some of his family members. So today I actually asked his dad, and he's super nervous because he's not here, but his dad is here with his new boss. But his dad, retired Lieutenant Bob Brightman, who's sitting with us today, was a police officer in New Jersey. He was the acting chief of police during Sandy, and he was also recognized as a police officer of the year in 2012. And that's just a small example of the type of employees and family members that we have